Hi, finally. Sorry, that was all a bit of a mission, wasn't it? Sorry about that. I did warn you I was a little bit um alcoholified. I'm a bit drunk. It's Friday night. It's fine. I've had a lot on this week, and the book deadline for the book that's being published in real life is really looming. And this book is coming towards its end, ish, isn't it? And and that's freaking me out a bit. So, before we get into today's, if my eyes are scrolling, it's because I'm trying to find where today's chapter begins. Can you hear me okay? Is the microphone all right? Because I'm on the bed and I know that in the past, the bed has smushed the microphone. Smushed is a technical term. So if the bed is making it bad, I'm really I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. Okay, you can hear me. That's good. Now, okay, before we get into the chapter, uh, I think the next chapter is going to be the last chapter. And not because I want it to end. I'm really sad that it's coming to the end, but because in terms of this being a book, I think we're nearly at the end. I think this is just where the story I think I think the next chapter is going to be the final chapter. And obviously I don't know because of your input. It might be a bit longer. But here's what I'm thinking. Because I know that I'm making this a bigger deal than it has to be, but I know what I'm like when I'm attached to things. So um I need a couple of weeks off. The deadline for writing Clop actually is mid-June, and I've been working really hard on it, but it's been really difficult to write this and put in the effort that I need to put in on the book. So I need a couple of weeks to just finish Clop actually for the deadline. And then I'd like to pick this back up again. I'd love to have fun again. I'd like to do Theo's story. I'd like to do fan fiction for this. And I'd like to write maybe a totally different book for us. We've had a really lovely time and I want this to be more. And I'm more than happy to put the work in. I've loved this. So what I think is going to happen is I think the last chapter might be Monday. Maybe it'll stretch to Tuesday, but I think prepare yourselves over the weekend that Monday and Tuesday is going to be the last couple of days. Then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I've got 3 lovely things that have been sent by Chris, our Chris in the chat. He sent in something. Ben has sent something. Poppy has sent something. A couple of people have sent things in. So the idea that we had for Sundays, let's read those. So the 3 days after the book ends, we'll read the stuff that's come in from you guys, and that'll be really lovely. And if anybody else wants to send things, let's read them out. Why not? Because the live stream takes up 0 of my energy. The writing is what takes up 4 hours of my day. So we'll do the live stream to read those. And then once I've turned in Clop actually, I can go back to writing every day. And that will be so lovely to do again. There's no stress on my part on doing that. So that's exciting. But yes, so just I want you to prepare yourself that I think the story is going to end on Monday, but then we'll still be able to meet. We'll read some fan stuff. Fan stuff sounds weird. It's not fans of mine, but we'll read your stuff, audience participation stuff. And then once Clop actually is in, and if more audience stuff comes in, I'll let you know, and we'll just meet up and read that. So I've no qualms about reading anything and everything that gets sent. So don't mind doing the stream. And then once I've got Clop actually in the bank and it's gone and done and into the publishers, I can come back to writing again and we'll start a new story, or I don't know, we'll do whatever we do. So just that's the plan for next week, just to prepare you all. And um, of course, the podcast is there. I hope you've been enjoying that. If you've been listening, National Treasures, I've really enjoyed listening back to those. I quite like it. I know it's a bit gentle and nothing happens, but I think I quite like that. Quite like to produce a space in the world and of entertainment, and I'm forever being told with all my pitches for stuff, there's not enough drama in it, nobody's died and nothing awful has happened. And I sit there quite quietly in the corner of meeting rooms going, I like things where not a lot happens and it's just about how people felt. um, but nobody that commissions things ever seems to believe that there's a market for that kind of stuff. So, but if you're enjoying National Podcast, Kim, your email, yes, you emailed us. It's hydrangeas. It totally is. You're totally right. So yeah, but anyway, right. I'm drunk and I'm rambling. Let's do the chapter. But yes, that's just to give you a general sense of where the world is going for the book club over the next couple of days. So much of next week. So I think one more episode, and then we'll do some lovely stuff. So if there's anything you want to have read out, let's chuck it in the diary. Let's read it. My email address is lauralex, so it's just my name @gmail.com. I'll always take an email from anyone. Why not? Send it to me and we'll read it out together, or we'll just meet up, or whatever we'll do. And then once Club actually's in, I will get back to writing and we'll do another audience adventure, because I think this has been really lovely. Right, let's read today's chapter, which has been a bit of a wrench for me. I don't want to say too much. Right. Let's read today's, and then no vote tonight then, please. Claire, don't even get me started. Look, just because it's your birthday Boxing Day, don't even think that you're not having to vote on the last chapter. I've made the vote. I'm not going to say. Okay, right. Okay. Chapter 36. Emma felt a bit dazed and disoriented. Is it disoriented or disorientated? How does that word work? I don't know. Anyway, it's a good start, isn't it? Emma felt a bit dazed and disoriented when she woke the next morning. The previous day felt like a blur. A badly filmed... Oh, I hate this. Because I've read it to Tom. I feel like I've already read it to you. But I haven't. But I've got this horrible feeling like you're all sitting there going, stupid bitch doesn't know she's already done this chapter. I just read it to Tom this afternoon because I was worried it wasn't very interesting. Disoriented. Is that what it is? Okay, thanks, guys. Disorient. If you're disoriented, disorientate? Where have I got that from then? Have I added that to my dictionary? I'm really sorry about how drunk I am. Oh, fucking hell. Oh, see, now some people are saying tainted. Disoriented. It was disorienting. It was disorientating. How do words work? I've got a fucking book deal. It's stupid, isn't it? Oh, I got my first notes back from my editor this week, and turns out I don't know how to do grammar at all. Absolutely at all. Tainted versus tended. Move on. You're right, Chris. You're absolutely right. I've got no idea. Right. Emma felt a bit dazed and disorientated/tented when she woke up the next morning. The previous day felt like a blur, a badly filmed scene in a cheap film. Had she really been to London and back since leaving the shop? The stupid feeling Emma had been keeping at bay since the dance floor had now well and truly invaded every cell in her body. She lay in bed for over an hour after waking, just staring at the ceiling and wondering how she was ever going to feel okay again. You felt really good walking home. Just focus on that. Bath is great. You're having a fresh start, she tried to tell herself. But the memory of bumping into Rebecca in the hallway kept creeping in. You don't know that anything happened between them. No, but I know, I do know he really made it sound like she had gone. Emma checked and rechecked her text messages from Jack. He had definitely used the past tense. I had a lovely time with Rebecca. Why use had if she was still there, unless you were trying to hide something? Emma groaned and rolled over, cursing herself for being in bed, analysing a single word in a text message as if she was 16 again. Well, maybe he was just trying to be nice. You were at a ball with another bloke. You actually kissed someone else last night, remember? So how can you be mad at him for having had Rebecca over a bit later than you thought? Even if they spent all night snogging, it was only the same as you. Emma knew this was the logical way to think about it, but she flumped over in bed, annoyed at herself for having come to the sensible conclusion without taking her emotions with her. So, what if Jack had had a lovely evening in with Rebecca? Wasn't that good for him? Shouldn't she be pleased that he was getting on well with his ex? Even post cheating, there was a friendship for them to salvage. This was a huge tick in the Jack is a good guy column. The ugly truth, the childish truth, the truth she wanted to bleach and push out of her ear rather than accept, was lurking in her mind, just waiting for one of her inner voices to say it out loud. You want him to be so obsessed with you that all he can do is sit pining for you. You hate the idea that he could have found something to do because you want him to be so in love with you that he's miserable without you. She stomped out of bed and crashed around in the kitchen making a cup of tea. All the time she tried to throw arguments at herself to dispute what she knew was true. Eventually, she relented and decided to just try and unpick it as reality. Well, this is the problem with not really having had a relationship, she realized. They've all been in my head, and I've never had to deal with a real man making things more complicated. I never had to think about their feelings because they never had any, except being in love with me. She tried to replay her imaginings of a life with Theo. They had never included any further details other than him being madly in love with her. It was the only character trait she'd ever really given him. Sunday passed in a dissatisfying collection of sulky hours. She moped from room to room, alternating episodes of bland television with rage cleaning different parts of the flat. When it was finally time to go to bed, she lay for much longer than she'd like, unable to go to sleep because tiredness wasn't touching her muscles or mind. The alarm went off on Monday morning, and she was delighted to realize she'd finally fallen asleep. She was also extremely pleased to be able to head off to the shop. Fake it till you make it, she said out loud to herself, and then jumped in the shower, singing loudly over the rushing water and determined to force herself into a more acceptable mood. As she left the flat to start her walk to the shop, she looked up and saw a car waiting on the curb. Rebecca was sitting in the driver's seat, and she waved at Emma. Emma waved back, feeling her mood sinking even further behind her fake smile. So that's that then, she thought sadly. You made your choice, and it left the door open for him to meet someone else. Hopefully, this was a lesson learned. She'd needed to get Theo out of her system, and maybe sacrificing Jack was what that took. There would be another Jack along, and next time she would have a better idea of how to be a grown-up. She headed down the street and heard Jack's voice behind her greeting Rebecca. She couldn't bring herself to turn around and continued her walk to work. Her feet had never been less willing to have a spring. Fiona let her into the shop and quickly assessed the gloomy look on Emma's face. It didn't go well then. No, it did not. I've screwed things up with Jack, too. Over a cup of tea, Emma filled Fiona in on the details of the weekend. She quickly explained the ball and then the journey home, and her day yesterday spent agonizing over her behaviour to Jack. Fiona stood and listened quietly with her head on one side. Well, If nothing else, at least you know how you feel. You could have spent yesterday crying over Theo. You've barely mentioned him. At least we're down to just one bloke to have convulsions over. This made Emma laugh, and she did her best not to stew. So she'd messed up, fine. As long as she learned from it and didn't then make that mistake again, then it was all okay. You're very chirpy, she said to Fiona as Fee pulled on a casual cardigan to pop out for her lunch break. I am. Fiona grinned mysteriously. Care to share? Fiona was being very coy. Well, I didn't want to rub your nose in it, but I'm having lunch with Simon. Emma's eyes sprung wide. Whoa, I thought you'd decided not to call him. I did, and then I didn't, Fiona shrugged. I just thought I'd call him and lay it all out about Norman and how confused I'd been. And if he still wanted to see me, then great. And if he didn't, then that was fine. Emma felt a fizz go through her. Perhaps she should do the same with Jack. Just be brave like Fiona. She remembered Rebecca waiting in the car that morning and felt herself shying away from bravery. No. The brave thing to do is to let him rekindle things with Rebecca. It was never a love story you were in. She pushed a smile back onto her face, and it felt much easier to do in the face of Fiona's happiness. Oh, Fiona, that's awesome. I can't wait to see more of Simon. Oh, speak of the devil. Simon suddenly appeared through the glass door and stood shyly a few feet from Fiona. Hello, he said chirpily. So this is the famous shop. It's lovely. Emma grinned and turned away to the till. Run along then, you two. Fiona, you need to be back on the shop floor at 2 p.m, please. I won't have you a minute later. She noticed Simon took Fiona's hand as they left the shop, and she felt a soaring in her chest for Fiona. Fiona deserved something uncomplicated and kind. So do I, said a small voice. Well, you had it offered. Your Simon asked you out for dinner on Saturday, and you turned it down for your Norman. She felt it was cruel to Theo to compare him to Norman, but the comparison was pretty obvious in the way she had behaved. She sighed and set about disentangling a box of wind chimes to distract herself. Fiona floated back in on a cloud after her lunch, and Emma resolved to find herself a way to be happy. She was never going to go back to being a cardboard person in a cardboard life. The week passed slowly and uneventfully. She eyed her phone daily, wishing it would ping with a text message from Jack. It didn't. She was surprised on Wednesday to receive an actual message from Theo apologizing. She smiled at it, but didn't reply. She'd wasted enough energy on him. She cleaned the flat from top to bottom in her spare time that week, determined to begin again. In the back of her mind, she wondered whether she ought to move. Could she ever forget the prospect of what could have been with Jack and learn to live beneath him without her skin prickling every time she heard footsteps? She didn't see Rebecca coming or going at all that week, and although it did make her feel a bit more positive, she did her best to push thoughts of it out of her head and focus on the sensible path. It didn't help that every time Jack came in or out of the flat with Elliot, Elliot would bark as he passed Emma's door. Just one single bark. She'd come to think of it as him saying hi. She'd started saying hi back. As the days passed, it became easier and easier not to pop upstairs and just try a conversation with Jack. She had to let him pursue whatever he needed to with Rebecca. It was frustrating and gloomy, but it felt right. It felt mature. It felt sustainable, even if it wasn't very happy. Fiona's happiness at having Simon back in her life was a real source of joy. She just seemed lighter and merrier. Emma was really and truly pleased for her. Fiona confided that she had sold the ring from Norman and was now spending every penny of it on dinners and drinks and fun days out with Simon from now on. Emma laughed heartily at that. Good. What a good use of the money. She also hoped the ring was somewhere else, being used in a more fulfilling love affair. By Friday, Emma was almost back on an even keel. She felt a bit bashed about, but was happy to be feeling less stupid and exposed. She was even toying with the idea of downloading a dating app. Why not? She thought recklessly. It would be fun to go on dates like Fiona is. See the sights of Bath, meet some new people. She waited until she was home Friday night and tucked up on the sofa with a mug of hot chocolate. It was the first time that week she'd been able to bring herself to make a hot chocolate. Making it had made her stomach muscles tense at the memory of Jack kissing her as they stood in the kitchen. She looked at the dating apps available and disregarded a few immediately. She'd heard people talking about those ones, and she had no desire to spend her evenings flicking through pictures of erect penises in bad light. No, thank you. There was one that cost money. Emma decided to go for that one, as it felt like the people there would be more interested in finding a partner if they put their bank details in. She scrolled through her phone for a suitable, nice photo, and then invented some hobbies to put in the About section. She made a mental note to get some actual hobbies so that this didn't feel like such a scam. Activate profile? Emma hesitated, hearing Elliot go padding across the floor upstairs. Yes. Brave, new, cardboard, brave, new, non cardboard Emma was going to put herself out there and never be a background character in her own life again. There, she was live in the dating world. She clicked the option to begin scrolling through the faces of men in the area who might be interested in falling in love with her. Scrolling through faces was much more addictive than Emma could possibly have realized. In fact, she didn't realize it was addictive at all until she went to take a big swig of her hot chocolate to find it no longer lived up to the first word in its name. She sloped towards the kitchen to rewarm her drink and then stopped in the hall, pausing over a face in a photo that she thought she recognized. Where did she know that face from? She clicked on his profile. His name was Matt. Matt. That was ringing a bell. He was handsome and so familiar looking. Why was he so familiar? It clicked in her head. He was the receptionist from the spa. He had been so kind and helpful to her and Fiona when they were hiding from Norman and Helen. Perhaps she should message him and say thank you. Your question for chapter 37: should Emma message Matt? Ooh, 1 yes, 2 no. Up to you. Should Emma message Matt? Ooh, and I don't know. We're within 1 or 2 episodes of the final, and I've left it entirely up to you. I don't know, guys. I know we all want it to be Jack, but the nature of the project has from the very start been up to you. This entire thing could have been set on a spaceship. Like, if there's any part of you that thinks I already had a pre-written story or anything pre-decided about any of this, the initial choices, which I only thought about the other day, were something like there was definitely a spaceship, there was a fantasy realm, there was Bath, and there was something else that I can't remember. And this whole thing has come out of that. So Catherine says we want her to call Jack. Well, then you need to decide the right choice, don't you? Should Emma message Matt? Claire says spaceship wasn't an option. I'm sure it was an option. Was there a spaceship? I'm sure it was an option. I'd have to go back and check the first ever YouTube video, which obviously I'm drunk enough to do. So don't even think that I won't. The plot, day 1. Was that not the first? Here we go. The audience chooses the plot. Day one. Hello. Oh, there I am chatting. Oh, but that won't be there, will it? It'll be on Twitter. I should do this off the video, shouldn't I? Oh God, what will it be? Or I don't know how to find it. I'm gonna find it, but I'm sure a spaceship was one of the. Wasn't a spaceship one of the things? Have I gone mad? Wasn't it? Was it? She said, getting higher and higher. It'll be in day zero. You're absolutely right, Kim. It will be, won't it? How do I search Twitter? Where does the book start? Oh, this is the worst YouTube video that's ever been made. Of course, that's not a quote. Right. Someone's going to have to check for me, please. But I'm sure a spaceship was one of the options. Wasn't it? Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're here now. We're in Bath. Emma was birthed and is a thing that's happening. So, does she message Matt? He was really nice to them in the spa. Does she drop him a text? Is that what this has all been building to? Or do you find the option that leads to Jack? One of these, I'll let you know now. One of them leads to Jack. One of them does not. But can you guess which one's which? So there you go. I hope that was all right. And we'll go. Hairball is checking. Okay. I'm so sure there was a spaceship because I really thought people would go. That was the main thing that interested me at the very start of this project. Was I'm sure it was an office, a spaceship, a fantasy realm, and Bath. I'm sure of it because I remember thinking, I'm sure it'll be a fantasy realm or a spaceship, and I thought it would be a spaceship. And I remember thinking of spaceship things. And then I was really surprised when it was Bath. And I remember thinking, I wonder if it's because we're in lockdown and people are sort of subconsciously craving more domestic things. I think those were the four options. Anyway, right. So those are your choices. Does she message Matt or not? Her fate is in your hands, and we'll see where we end up on Monday. So if you're watching on catch up and you watch this episode over the weekend, try and join us for the live episode if you can. Let's get as many people to the live episode on Monday as we can, and then we'll see what turns up. I love you guys a lot. I'll put my coffee link in the thing. If you want to, go for it. If you don't want to, I completely love you anyway. And see you Monday. Bye.